Okay folks, this is another update on my Prusa Mendel version 2 project. Earlier this evening I was going to get all the framework adjusted and the linear rods installed. Now I've hit a few snags along the way, but I'm getting there. It's quite late now, so I'm trying to keep my voice down so I don't disturb the neighbours. These flats have walls like cardboard. So I mentioned that I was going to cut a couple of dowels to assist in my measuring. This one is 290mm long, and these were basically used as a simple guide here between printed blocks. So the dowel is touching this surface and should be able to also go into there in that surface. So it's just a rough measurement. You can see here that I'm having a little bit of trouble with it. But it is going in, yeah. So the plastics that I received, I got all these plastics for free, remember, yeah. So these were one of the chaps' first attempts at doing a print, and you know, I don't know if it was his first attempt or not, to be honest. But these were of a quality that he was willing to sell, so he gave them to me for free. So I can't complain too much. So anyway, so that was the idea behind the dowel, just to get a rough measurement on the framework. I've got the other dowel in here somewhere, and this one, 234mm, was basically used to take a touch between the feet. So it's touching there and it's touching there. So you can check at various points for that. Also underneath on the actual feet down there. And over there. Because you got one bar here and another bar here, which they need to be keeping these feet parallel and square to one another. So everything has a knock-on effect, I've found. So ultimately what I ended up doing then was using a vernier. Now, yeah, I have no idea how accurate these blocks are, or how accurate these nuts are in comparison to that block and those nuts. Yeah, there's bound to be some sort of tolerance. So if you just give me a quick moment here, I'll need to swap hands with the camera. Right, so what I've been doing is measuring this distance here, and I've been getting that down to about 19mm, okay? And over here should be almost the same. that's also 19 millimeters. I think that's maybe 18.9, you know, so there's not a lot in that, right? The two rails here, this one and this one, they need to be exactly parallel to each other, because in time this board here will have some brackets secured to the underside of it, which then clip into place on top of these bearings. Now I've got brackets here which would do the job. You need to put a small screw and a nut through the bottom of it to pinch it, and sort of like that, so it tightens up on the bearing so it doesn't slip. But basically they just sort of slide over the bearing. This one needs a little bit of work done to it yet. There's a bit of plastic on the inside that prevents it from slipping over the bearing currently. So once that's done, you need to have it screwed into place on the board as well. I've got 2 or 3 different sets from different designs, so I'm going to choose the ones which work the best, but that needs to be done yet. So once this board is in place then, in that sort of fashion, these small screw holes here then retain yet another board, and the larger board then has the holes for mounting the heat bed on. This red, I've shown you the heat bed before. It's a sort of printed circuit board which generates heat and allows the plastic to adhere to it. So that's all got to be dealt with yet. That's for another day. Now, this light purple bracket here at the back, that will be used for mounting one of the motors. Each motor has 4 mounting holes, and these brackets will only use 3 of those mounting holes, so I'm not very impressed by that. But they'll go on something along the lines of that, and then on the, I don't know if you can see there, you can see the shaft of the motor sticking out somewhat. That shaft will hold one of these small gears, or pulleys if you like. I've actually got one here, so easier to see. This is another free item I got, not the motor but the actual pulley or gear. It's not very well printed. I might be able to salvage it. However, I've been unable to source a belt for free, so I've had to order the belt, and a lot of these belts come pre-packed with a little aluminium gear, so I'm getting an aluminium gear home with the belt anyway, and that's cost me £5.90, so I in all likelihood won't be using this. But that will be sort of mounted at the back here in that sort of fashion. Now, as you can see there, the gear doesn't quite line up with the bearing that is on that bit of threaded bar, so I'll need to look at that. That might need to be readjusted. I hope I don't have to strip this back assembly, but that will be done at some point also. So one of the things I have achieved this evening is the alignment of these bottom rails. They are now precisely 140 millimeters, 141 actually, 141 millimeters apart. It's not very easy to do with one hand. It'll get an accurate measurement here, but I cannot do that with one hand, I'm sorry folks, it's just I'm not able to get an accurate reading holding it like this. So I can't display that. But this board was cut very close to 140 millimeters, not quite, but almost. As you can see, it fits inside there with very little movement side to side. I'm trying to move it from side to side there, and you can just maybe see a little bit, but it's quite tight. You know, it's not tight to move, it moves readily, but there's very little movement laterally on it. And again over here also, it's also quite tight. So that's a good indication that the rails are parallel. Oh, right. As you can see, I've also mounted these rails, albeit temporarily. This rail was fitted readily. However, this one is having a problem getting through the aperture up here, so there might need to be some further work done to this part of the plastic. This bit of plastic, though, it's only 2 nuts that's retaining it, so it can just slip off quite easily, so that won't be a problem. As you can see, these 2 rails then will, when fitted correctly, move up and down in this sort of manner to give you the height of your print, and the print head itself will be mounted on here. So I've just put that in there temporarily because I'm not there yet. I've got to get the belt fitted and these boards in place, and finalise a few other parts of the build before I can start really looking at this section of the build instructions. But everything should be fairly square now. The bars are fairly parallel. Well, these ones are certainly bang on. I haven't spent much time on these ones yet, but the whole frame is much more rigid than it was. Any movement you're seeing there is basically the table itself moving, because it's quite a tall table there. So the structure is now much more rigid. So yeah, I've still got a box of bits here to rake through and see what I can salvage out of it. Like I said, I got them for fuck all basically. Paid I think it was about 20 quid shipping from Australia. Just all the junk that the boy didn't want to use himself. 20 quid is quite a lot for bits of bloody plastic, but having said that, if I was to spend the time making them out of wood or metal, it would take me a hell of a time to make all this, you know. And if I can get the printer up and running, any parts I'm not satisfied with, I can print myself. I've done a small total on my build cost so far, and I'm currently running about 220 quid, would you believe? It's not much to look at, is it? You know, 220 quid's worth. But there you go, that's what I've spent, you know. The biggest purchase, I think, was actually these rails. I got them from RS Components. I'm not particularly satisfied with them. They might be going back yet, but the rod cost me 75 quid. So that was the biggest expense of the whole project. The motors, they cost me in the region of something like 60 quid. So, and I got five motors. So these 1.5 meter lengths of stainless rod were more expensive than these motors. So that's it for one evening, folks. It'll probably be a day or two now before I do another video. I've achieved as much as I can really achieve now without getting some more parts home. I need all these little wee M3 nuts and bolts and washers. I don't have any M3 nuts and bolts yet. I don't have the pulley. I don't have the pulley teeth, and I'm going to have a look at the build plans next and see what the next part of the build is. As you can see, this is a printer I got off of the internet for the Prusa Mendel. It's freely available to download as a PDF. If you just Google it, folks, you know, you can go to the author of this document here is Gary Hodgson. Sorry, Gary, if I mispronounced your name. http://Gary Hodgson.com/reprap. So you can download this document from there. You might get an updated copy, but there's loads of information in it. You've got a change log here of various iterations of the apparatus, because it has gone through numerous revisions over the months. The bill of materials, printed parts. Some of these will be unfamiliar. These ones certainly are different than what I have fitted, as are these. These parts I have. So, you know, there are some inconsistencies. These are the non-printed parts, or, you know, the metal parts and electronics and such like. You can see a lot of it is fasteners, yeah. There's quite a lot of fasteners, some bearings, springs, threaded rod, smooth rod. That's what I've used the stainless for. Some sheets for your base, belts, stepper motors, and miscellaneous other bits and pieces. So the build instructions are very thorough. They start off with, you know, I'm not going to go through them all, but it's very straightforward. There's no nothing difficult in it. It's all been modelled in 3D, and then they've taken screen captures of each stage of the build process, and they created this instruction booklet. So it's it'll be an asset to anyone that's wanting to build their own 3D printer. It doesn't really touch upon the electrics very much, but there's plenty of online resources that do cover the electrics, and as well as that, there is chat rooms. One of the ones I'm currently hanging out in is a hash reprap. If you use your